Hey, welcome to the Gig Life Podcast. I'm your host, Stevie Taylor, and now for something a wee bit extra. This is the Gig Life Podcast Focus Show. In these little mini episodes, my guest and I will talk about their new album or EP. We'll listen to some of the songs, we'll find out what those songs are all about, how they were made, and where you can get them from. So, my guest today on the Gig Life Podcast Focus Show is Lusi Austin. She has a new 6-track EP out called Walking Contradiction. Walking Contradiction is Lusi's first solo studio EP. The songs are a collection of stories based on universal experiences of our shared humanity, love, nostalgia, loneliness, letting go, overcoming and relinquishing control. Some of the songs are based on Lusi's own experiences and some are from stories gathered from others around her. All were written by Lusi in stolen moments of quiet in her otherwise busy home life, a chorus of rhythms of daily life as a wife to one and a mother of 5. Lusi believes there is beauty to behold and tales to be told of the mundane moments of life and relationship. The stories, the lyricism, and the musicality of each song are the most important parts of Lusi, rather than trying to manipulate them stylistically for the sake of fitting into one particular genre. As such, you could say she writes in an eclectic way, which in and of itself can seem like a walking contradiction. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Lusi Austin. All right, I think we're rolling. Lusi Austin, welcome to the Gig Life Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sweet, how you going?
Yeah, I'm going really well. Actually, it's a bit cold, but apart from that,
it's bloody bit cold in Sydney today.
Yeah. Even out here, we normally have a bit warmer weather, but it's it's cold.
Yeah. So you're in Cowra?
Yeah, I'm in the central west of New South Wales, so I'm in Cowra, and we've been living here for about 7 years, which is it's a lovely place to raise a family. It's beautiful.
Yeah, great. And you were saying you were born and raised in Penrith, so
yeah.
So were you in Penrith the whole time until you moved out to Cowra?
I was raised in, well, it was actually St Mary's, so it's just a little bit, a little bit east of Penrith. But I always said Penrith because people didn't really know St Mary's.
Yep.
But yeah, we were raised in St Mary's. It was such a nice place when we were kids. We had a really lovely little community there, and everybody knew everybody, around the streets, and you'd play and hang out in people's backyards and have swimming competitions and, all of the fun stuff that kids in the 80s and grew up doing. So
that's cool.
So that was really lovely. And then, when my husband and I got married, we lived in St Mary's for a little bit too, and then he got a job up in the Blue Mountains and his family lived up there. So we just moved up to the top of the mountains and raised a family up there for about, I think we were in the mountains for about 12 years.
Yep.
And then, we decided about 7 years ago to move further west and come out to Cowra. So buy a place out here. Yeah, which is really nice. We could kind of afford to buy something out here, but they had everything. There were enough amenities and resources out here to raise a family, and you sort of weren't living in a one-horse town, which we wanted to be able to, give opportunities to our kids too. And so we've been here for that time, and it's been such a welcoming place too, which is really lovely.
That's really cool. Very cool. When did music start for you?
Wow. I can't remember life without music, hey?
Cool.
My mum was, she went through the Conservatorium of Music in Sydney, had her lessons down there, and was, went through boarding school and was taught, by the nuns. And I think in that generation, music was fairly common to have as a little hobby. But for my mum, it developed into more than that. So she was teaching piano while we kids were growing up. So she'd be teaching in the lounge room, and we'd have to be quiet in the, in the back room and do our homework and whatever after school. So my dad's Fijian and mum's Australian. So Dad actually he learned how to play guitar, sitting in the village, hanging out with his brothers, and they just all learnt by ear. And of course, they could all sing in amazing, like 4-part harmony, and it just came naturally to them. And so, as a kid, I grew up listening to Dad playing the guitar or the ukulele in the back room, and then sometimes Mum would play the piano, and then us kids, one of 4 siblings, there's 4 of us kids, and we would just, gather around the piano, and someone would go, "Oh, I'll sing lead," and the 2 of us sisters would go into harmony. My brother wasn't really into music. He sort of he was more into rapping and stuff, but it was more us girls were sort of the ones who vocally would sing up a bit of a storm around the piano with Mum and Dad. So that was very early on for me. And the love of music just, it was just everywhere. So Mum and Dad had record collections, as pretty much everyone did, that a really beautiful 1964 HMV record player, like the full stand. I remember them, playing records in the afternoons on a Sunday, or we'd listen to, just different TV shows that had music, or they'd have the radio on, or they'd be dancing in the kitchen. And music was just really always like a given in our life. So I've never had a life without music in it.
When did you start songwriting?
Oh man, I think the first song my sisters and I wrote together they were probably about 9. So my sisters are twins.
Yep.
So they were about 9. So I was about 11, I think. And we had a best friend who lived up the road from us, about 2-3 houses up, and we'd just hang off the swing set out the backyard, and we would pretend we were the Bangles or Tina Arena or someone, Kate Sobrano. We just heard these songs on the radio, and then thought that we were the same as these people, and we could just write up some songs and stuff. So the first song we wrote was so cheesy and so ridiculous, because of course we had no life experience, so we're just writing like love songs at the age of 11 repeating themes that we've heard, like on Neighbours or something. And so anyway, but we all still know the song. It's hilarious because it's funny, never left us.
That's the thing, you always kind of remember your first song you wrote.
Totally. We always joke about how lame it is, but we can't forget it. And then I guess throughout my years growing up as a teenager and stuff, I was really into poetry. Mum was an English teacher and a trained English teacher, and so although she wasn't teaching while we were growing up, she always gave us a real love of literature, and would read stories to us, and Dad would tell us stories, about his Fijian childhood and upbringing. And so I think words have always been super important in my life and have been a real, thread line. And so I started writing poetry and stories, and and then I learnt to play some things on the guitar, and it just kind of came from there. I'd start to muck around, and next thing you know, you'd have a little hook and you'd have a little chorus, and you'd think, oh, that's okay. But a lot of the time was really us, like my sisters and I, singing other people's songs. We'd sing songs by Boyz II Men or CDB or the kinds of. And I noticed Gary Pinto actually recently, and I was like in awe. I was like, Gary Pinto.
Man, I was a fan. I was a fan too. Yeah, big time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, such a big fan in so many ways. So many ways. But so I think. We just sort of listened to those songs, and so we entered talent quests, and we sang at weddings and funerals and everything in between, and that's sort of how it evolved. I realised it was definitely something that I wanted to do. I just didn't know what it would look like, basically.
Right. So here we are today, and we're going to talk about your new EP called Walking Contradiction. So let's talk about what it is. It's a 6-song EP that you released this year, and beginning of this year, January, you released the first single off that EP called Back in Town.
Yep, that's
cool.
Right.
Very cool. So what we're going to do is we're gonna sit here and we're gonna listen to snippets of each of those songs, and we're going to talk about those songs. I've been listening to your EP for the last few days, So I've got all the hooks in my head now, so I'll be singing along while we're...
Oh, awesome. That's great.
Yeah, I just put my headphones on at work and yeah, it's great. It's really cool.
That's so good. Thank you so much.
No worries.
I guess the catalyst for writing it was I got Ross River virus last year, and I was in hospital. I've been doing the gigging circuit, playing cover shows and things around the central west of New South Wales. But I was lying in the hospital and I couldn't walk. I couldn't move. My hands were all swollen. I had meningitis at the same time and was very ill. And I actually got to the point where, for the very first time I had to cancel gigs, which I've never done before. And I started thinking, man, what if, I don't actually get to play again and I don't get to do the gigging circuit? And if I don't play covers, I've got these songs that I've, been storing up for years in my heart and in my mind, and they're going to be stuck inside me because I'm not even going to be able to play them out. Like, what's going to happen with that? And yeah, so I thought, far out, if I actually get well enough to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to record and, and get the songs out there. And so that's sort of the place from which, or the motivation for birthing these songs finally is to not have them just stay dormant in my head.
Very cool. First song off the EP is called Thick as Thieves. All right, so we'll listen to a bit and then we'll talk about it a bit.
Cool.
Your breakfast cup is empty. Coffee's dried on the side. You left at 7:30. You'll be home on Friday night. And I count the hours that you're gone. And I don't wanna feel.
Right, so did you write this about your husband?
Yeah, so at the time, my husband was, he'd landed a job working in Orange in New South Wales, which is about a 3-hour round trip for us. So at the end of a day, it was going to, take quite a while for him to drive back home, and the risk of hitting roos on the road is very real out here, and we've hit quite a few, and it does damage to the car, and it's just a risk that we didn't want to take. So the people that he was working for are very good friends of ours, have been best friends of ours for 20 odd years, and they offered for my husband Brett to stay overnight, and
cool.
that he could stay there for a couple of nights a week, and so he did. He stayed overnight a couple nights a week there, and which was so lovely for him, but really hard for me too.
Hours that you're gone. And I don't want to feel this, but I feel alone, because we are as thick as thieves in this den of mine.
Very cool. So that's track number 1. That's Thick as Thieves. Track number 2 is called Railroading Me.
Yeah.
There was a time in my life when you said you'd do right by me, and how could I be so blind? Pack your bags and showed you the door. Don't you come around here no more, trying your best to sweet talk to me. Same old deal, we fuss and fight and we say bad things through the night. Hug and hold, we shackle our souls, try to break free, but it takes its toll. You stop railroading me, you stop railroading me, you stop railroading me.
Now, what does railroading me mean? Because I've never heard that saying before.
Yeah, so it's a phrase that... Oh, I've just lost my thing, sorry. It's a... So railroading means, it's a phrase that means basically that someone is trying to control you and take you over.
Right. Okay.
And I had seen this in a couple of people in my life. I'd seen it happen in their lives, and it was very difficult watching it. And yet there was a journey that unfolded of them kind of breaking free and cutting the shackles off and being able to walk away from that. But yeah, it's kind of like a relationship that can often be very controlling.
You stop railroading me, you stop railroading me, you stop railroading me. Said this is where your line ends. It don't go no.
Track 3, which is my favourite, Walking Contradiction. I love this. It's so cool.
Thank you.
Cool. Yep.
Thank you so much.
It took me back to my childhood too. Just listening to the stuff, to the music, you know.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
When I was just a kid, the records would play on and off on a Sunday afternoon, yeah. And the one thing I find to pass away time, listen to tunes of all different kinds. You got Dolly on one, Kenny on two, you gotta pump up the jam between the blues. You got Roy on 3, Line on 4, you got Stevie and Whitney, Mexis galore. Kamal on 5, 6, 7, 8. Warren G, you gotta regulate.
I love that.
All those stars
Warren G, you gotta regulate. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
All right, so how did this one come about?
I think I was incredibly inspired by Lauryn Hill because she's probably my favourite artist ever. I actually had the pleasure of meeting her face to face last year, the beginning of last year, which was
cool.
such a cool thing that happened very randomly but awesome with my sister-in-law. But yeah, I just loved how she told the stories of her childhood, and I don't know, just one day I was driving around in between my sons playing basketball. I dropped them off and I was driving to the music shop to get my guitar strings changed, and I literally just heard this kind of little na 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 na, and I thought, oh man, there's something about that reminds me of kind of records and kids' childhood. So I had to pull over and record it. Just, it was like written in about 10 minutes, and I had to rework the bridge a little bit, but and that little chord progression in the bridge that kind of goes da da da, you may think I'm mad. I heard my dad play that little slide down as a kid, and awesome. I just kind of tried to emulate it.
What I really like it is right at the end. I'm not going to play it here, so people, they're going to have to go and listen to it to hear it. Is how it. The vocals sort of the bass gets pulled out, and you can hear the record, and it sounds like it's your record,
I'm so glad
Brilliant.
You like that.
Yeah, it's so cool, really cool.
I asked my producer was Craig Honeysett, and I said to Craig one day, it's really weird, but I'd really love it if you could do this effect where it almost sounds like a record is spinning, and if we ever do a film clip for it, that's exactly how I envisaged that part. Fading out to that. So yeah, I love that you got that. That's
Nailed
awesome.
it. Yeah, it's really cool.
You.
Very cool. Next track is Back in Town, which was the single.
Yeah, this was the single, and it's got this kind of country vibe to it, and this is part of why the whole album is called Walking Contradiction, because you don't expect to hear this kind of stuff from me, probably.
We got music playing, we're talking and laughing on the dirty road near where the river runs dry.
It's done pretty well with the country, kind of community, and had a couple weeks at number one on a couple of radio stations that went worldwide. So that's really encouraging. Yeah.
Fantastic.
With the big smoke, summer's here. Back in town, nothing's really changed.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Very cool. Next one is So Far.
Mm.
Track number
Yeah,
5.
this is my favourite.
Okay.
I just love the bassy lines in this.
Ain't no denying but how much effort and how much trying you win it to preserve this thing, this gift, this life, this treasure untold. The pain and hurt goes forth, goes out like a ripple effect. The tensions will mount. It's been real, it's been good, it's been real dang good. So far, so good, so far, so good, so far away, so far I feel done. Hey.
All right. So what's this one all about?
Yeah, so this one's a real reflection of mental health, battles that people in our immediate family have had. And although it's not exactly my struggle, I've been right there for the whole thing. And, it's a very hard thing to watch sometimes when people struggle so desperately and so much. And, the big cry line in that is "Don't let me be done." And I think that for me is, what we've seen in people is that they actually don't want to be done. They want people to hold on to them.
Yep.
And help them through, but they also want the pain to finish, and so it's so much of it is about really having those conversations about supporting, people through and recognizing and acknowledging those feelings, the feelings that things just crumble around them, and they feel like they're tumbling down into the cavernous deep, and as it says in one of the lines. And so, that for me is, it's important that if people are struggling, they reach out in the right places. And if you see those people struggling around you, to just really acknowledge it, but let them know, you're not done. Don't be done.
Don't let me be done. Don't let me be done. Don't let me be done. So far, so good. So far, so good. So far.
And finally, track number 6, Let You Fly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
little,
this one.
beautiful little ballad. This one.
Thank you. I've got 5 kids, and the eldest is 18 and is about to fly the nest, at some point in the next couple of years, probably.
Oh, right. Okay.
And this is that feeling that every parent has, I think, that you want them to fly. It's hard, but you want them to find their wings and fly.
Let you soar. I'm gonna say goodbye. Although you see my tears fall, we both know it's time. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you fly. I'm gonna let you fall. I'm gonna hold.
So the recording sessions for this EP, did you do it all in one shot, or did you do it in bits and pieces? Did you get the band?
No.
Get the band
Yeah,
together?
I did it in about 3 sessions.
Okay.
That we were actually fully recorded in about 3, and some of that, those sessions were brainstorming. So the studio's in Orange, over at Dotted 8 Studio. So I had to sort of travel from here. So I would spend, it'd be basically a whole day from when I would leave here about 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd go over there and I had to have in my mind exactly what we wanted to do. And Craig was so flexible, but the kind of person that, he said, totally, whatever you want to do, you let me know when you come here. What do you want to do? So it was amazing to have that kind of level of control over my decisions creatively. And he just supported them. And so he did all of the post-production when I wasn't there, including, putting down. So he played all the other instruments, which is incredible.
Wow.
So it's just the two of us. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So he played live drums, he did the bass, he did percussion, and all the sampling and stuff. And so if there were things that I wasn't keen on, he'd send it through to me via email. So we were really doing it over distance, I guess, because it wasn't like I can just go with 5 kids, I'll just pop into the studio. So I had to do it. Yeah, we were on and it wasn't really time constraints. It was more that they were self-imposed, like they were things that I wanted to get done.
I understand.
Sort of by the beginning of the year. But so we recorded in November last year. So it was really sort of November, and by January, it was all done. He had made sure that everything was mixed and mastered, sent through to me, and I could get everything pressed and distributed. And I chose to go through an Australian distributor as well, just so that I could, keep it as local as possible. And yeah, it was such an amazing journey because it was just the two of us. I think, when you have a band, there's lots of other complications that you can have, or studio, like session musos and things. But,
sure.
And maybe sometimes it's easier too, I don't know. But for this, it was fantastic to work with Craig. He's a dead set legend in my book.
That's great. When we first started talking about this, it was the start of COVID-19, and you told me that you were ready to start playing some shows, and due to your immune system being a bit down, you were at extra high risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had to cancel. Yeah.
Yeah, I pulled the pin just before the formal lockdown happened.
Yep.
Before venues actually closed, I had to go and see my doctor. So I don't have a spleen. I have a rare blood disease, and I've been in remission for years, but I do have a compromised immune system, and I just have to be really careful about that. And I went and saw my doctor and said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Yeah, I think it's probably best if you don't play, because you're just we don't know what this is going to look like right now." It was at the beginning, as you said, of the whole COVID situation. And so I knew that was going to mean that the launch that I had planned for the EP, I'd booked the hall, I'd booked, the bath, everything was going to go ahead. And I had to come to terms with that's not going to go ahead. But, if it hadn't been for COVID, it would have been, we had acts lined up. We had, muso friends of mine who were going to support. We had people who were on a launch team who were ready to help me get this all out there. And it was pretty demoralizing. In hindsight, you'd go, wow, why would you have released it at this time? But I'm a big believer in things happening. No one knew. No one knew. 100%. No. Yeah. Absolutely. And if you'd known, you wouldn't have done it, but we didn't know. And in the meantime, all the gigs and all the venues, of course, then just started contacting me and sending messages saying, "I'm really sorry, Lucy, but, we have to cancel our gigs at the moment." And I knew that it was going to happen. It was totally, once the announcements started coming from the Premier and stuff, we knew that was going to be inevitable. But, and I'm not the only one. And my sister, who's a professional musician in Melbourne, she was in the same boat, and all of her friends were in the same boat, and her venue started contacting her. And so I was encouraged because she and I could talk about it, and I knew that I wasn't alone, and same as some of the local musicians here. And then, of course, we started getting requests from people saying, "Would you like to jump online and do, cool. this kind of live thing?" Cool. Or, and some of those were original nights where I could sing originals. So that was really special, because I don't think that would have happened had I, not been able, had I been just doing my normal gigs. I had a calendar that was pretty much booked till the end of the year, full of gigs. So in the normal circuit, So, it's enabled me to meet new people that my paths wouldn't have crossed with. I did a live with Chris Schubert, he was on the bill as well, who's, Safety of Life at Sea. And just to even have shared a bill with him was amazing. Even if it was on like a live, I didn't mind. It was incredible to have new opportunities that I wouldn't have thought of happening either had COVID not happened.
Great. Now, where can we buy your album?
Yeah, so I've got a website.
And I'm going to say that first. Where can you buy it? And then, if you can't buy it, where can you stream it from?
Awesome. Yeah, so you can buy it from my website, which is www.lusiaustin.com.
Yep. Link in the show notes. Yep.
Awesome, because Lucy's a bit weird. The spelling's the Fijian spelling of Lusi. But yeah, so it's on there and people can download the album. They can go to Bandcamp and search for me on Bandcamp or as well, and you can buy the album through Bandcamp. And then streaming, all the normal streaming services, so Spotify and Apple Music and Deezer and all of the places. So, but yeah, and I do have physical copies of the CD, so people can just send me, a message on my contact page on I found it hard trying to actually sell them with postage and things, and the shopping cart was a bit dodgy, and I just thought, no.
Yeah.
I've pretty much had to do everything myself. So I've built the website myself. I've,
cool.
Done all of those, like the publicity stuff has all been myself. When you're an independent and you're small and you're in a rural town and you have a family, on a single income, you don't really have that opportunity to hire a publicist. And you can, but it just takes out a lot more of the, I guess a lot more commitment, and then a lot more, in terms of financial commitment. So, which we just couldn't do. We couldn't afford that. And so, yeah, I still have the CDs. I paid to have them pressed, and people, like even tonight, actually, just before this, a lady from Cowra messaged me and just said, we haven't had a chance to get one of your CDs yet. Can I come and pick one up tomorrow, or can you drop it in? So,
awesome.
And I sent 2 off today in the post. So, people can still do that, and it's easy to do it.
Awesome. Lusi Austin, this has been an absolute pleasure. Sorry it's taken me so long to get this rolling.
No, not at all. Thank you so much, Stevie, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Sweet as.
It's been lovely.
Like I said, I really like your EP. I've been listening to it, and if you're listening, go to the links below, go to Lucy's website and Spotify and all that sort of stuff, and buy it and stream it. Don't steal it. Buy it. Buy it. If you can't buy it, stream it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support, and everyone who's listening, who takes a punt and goes and has a listen. I really appreciate it too. So thank you.
Awesome. Good stuff, Lucy.
Thank you.
All right. Catch you later.
Okay, cheers.
See ya.